Got it. Ding, 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 ding. Here they are, flooding in. The crypto rebels. Welcome everybody who's joining. Thanks for being here. I'm probably going to do a little bit of treading the water while a few other people arrive, but I'm Atlas Talisman. Yeah, I feel like with all your backgrounds, there's different places all around the world, times of night and day. Regardless, we show up for crypto. Yes. So we've got a beautiful array of presenters with me here today. This video is going to also be available for all of you to re-watch afterwards. And some of you may be only watching this in the replay, and that's totally fine as well. So the idea here is to have a much more casual chance to get to know all the presenters. Next week is the official webinar, so to speak. We'll be having 2 days going right from the basics through to some deep dives into NFTs, DeFi, and gaming and that sort of thing. But I think it's really nice for both sides, both for you to get to know us before you come in and are talked at in our lecture style presentations. Then there will be definitely questions at the end of both webinars, but today's really also a chance for us to get a feel of the community, maybe to ask you some questions so we really know what value we can best provide next week. We've got our areas of, I was going to say expertise, but let's call it passion. We've got our areas of passion in crypto that we really geek out on and get degen with. So yeah, we also want to know what we can do next week that's really going to aid your next step. I know some people are sort of starting right from 101 and want to get a wallet and get into the crypto. And other people might maybe have done that and they want to go straight into things like making their own NFTs, or maybe wondering how their product or service can translate into the crypto space, or create a membership around NFTs and that sort of thing. So maybe we'll get started. I think we're 5 minutes in. I'll probably continue to let people in as we go. But welcome. And I think as well, what might help, in a second, we'll go around and do a bit of intro through all the presenters. And just for ease of viewing, maybe what I'll ask is if you can turn your camera off if you're not asking a question. So maybe we'll do that now, just so that the presenters are seen. And then when you are going to ask a question, blink, turn your camera on. And then the setting I've got is that they will then appear on the screen for the recording afterwards. If that makes sense. So yeah, just asking you, a few more of you to turn off your cameras, and then we'll begin. But not the presenters. So presenters, you stay on. I need you on stage, Kevin. And just Vascu, if you could turn off your camera. Bling, well done. Thank you for playing my game in my orchestra. I can be a demanding conductor, but I assure you it's for the best. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Crypto Safari. This is a brainchild of a bunch of us, Crypto Collective, and also brought together by Earthbeat Festival. Really stoked, excited actually to hear from all of the presenters here. All of us are appropriately geeky and passionate about whether it be finance, community, artistry, technology, but ultimately community support and freedom. And this way that we are doing it's peer-to-peer. And that's a big part of decentralization. So thank you for being here in the AMA for Crypto Safari. Just to assure anyone that's watching the recording, you haven't missed the webinar. It is next weekend on Saturday the 13th and Sunday the 14th. But this is a bonus round where the community gets to ask us questions, gets to know us as people, and maybe we get to ask you a few questions so we know how to best host next week. So I'm going to throw across to my awesome compadres here, maybe Marcus, if you can kick it off. And we'll just basically tell you a little bit about us, why we deserve to have a microphone, and I guess more importantly, kind of the area that we'll be taking up next week. And that'll also help with the AMA in a second, because you know who to direct your questions to. So over to you, Marcus.
Cool, thanks Atlas, and welcome everybody. Yeah, so I'm Marcus Rinaldi. My journey with crypto started in 2012. I read a Rolling Stone magazine article about crypto and the Silk Road, and I became intrigued. Really that article really pointed me in the direction of Bitcoin. It was actually Bitcoin and the Silk Road more than crypto. The rest of crypto really came later. And so, yeah, I've always, that started my journey. I didn't invest in 2012. Of course, if I had, I'd be a multimillionaire right now. But it was a long journey of understanding what Bitcoin was, what the technology behind it was, what blockchain was. It's all completely new concepts. And also what money is, really. So that also got me really intrigued. So I'd watched some documentaries on what money is and how money is created, the Federal Reserve Bank, when it was created, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's kind of sort of the background to my crypto journey. It really was a long journey of trial and error, making shit tons of mistakes along the way, and eventually getting a handle of it. So I've been quite hard out in the crypto space for about, I'd say, 2.5 years, 3 years. Yeah, so I'm going to be presenting on what money is, what gives value, what the difference is between sound money and fiat money is, where we're at in the fiat money cycle right now, touch a little bit on CBDCs against Bitcoin, and also and crypto, but also what Bitcoin is and why I believe Bitcoin is sound money, and the psychology a little bit of what having sound money would mean to the world, to us, the potential for very beneficial transformation, issues of sovereignty, and why I believe essentially that Bitcoin is a really good place to put some of your wealth as a hedge against a potentially failing fiat economy. So that's me. Thanks.
Thank you, Marcus. Awesome. And yeah, for anyone who's arriving midstream, can you turn off your cameras just so we just have the presenters on screen? But you're all very welcome. Thanks for arriving. Heading over to you, whoever feels, Hayden, Kevin, who's got the popcorn bubbles in their stomachs.
Happy to jump in, both feet first. Hey everyone, I'm Hayden. My crypto journey is actually is similar actually in ways to Marcus there. My first exposure to Bitcoin was 2013. At that time, I was trialing an app called Plus 500. It's a trading app, and it gives you a trial, a pretend $5,000 to invest when you first open up the account. And I remember at the time, I think I just allocated it to like gold, silver, maybe a couple other things, and Bitcoin was just a random one that I put it on. And it just so happened that was right in the middle of Bitcoin's bull cycle of 2013. And so what happened is I went to bed, I woke up the next morning, and that 50,000 had become like, I don't know, 60, 70,000 or something like that. And I looked at it, and this is of course not real money, this is pretend money. But I looked at it and I was like, what the hell is that? Why did I really just, if I was investing 5,000, would I have just made that much money? And you'd think that I would have dived deeper into it at that time, but I was an idiot. And so I didn't. I just moved on with my life. I stopped using that app because I didn't really like it. And then life happened and I didn't get back into crypto until 2016. And so at that point, I was, researching the origins of the Federal Reserve and, the gold standard and kind of how money works globally. And I realized that, we're holding on to something that's devaluing by the day. And it doesn't make sense to continue holding that or preferring to hold that over other things that could potentially be making money. And so, obviously you type into Google, how to make money with shares and how to make money with all these things, commodities. And so on that journey, Bitcoin popped up again. And so I recognized it. I was like, oh, there's that thing from the trading app a couple of years ago. I'm like, I still don't know what this is, but everyone's saying it's digital gold. And at that point, gold to me seemed like a good investment. And I was like, well, maybe I'll get some Bitcoin. And I think at that time, I don't remember what it was, a couple $100 or something. Oh yeah, because it had to run up to 1,000. It had dropped back down to a few $100. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I can get more money. I can get more value for money if I just buy some Litecoin, which was being touted as the silver to Bitcoin's gold. And then Ethereum was this other thing that had just popped up. So I bought Litecoin and Ethereum back in 2016. Litecoin was actually at its very lowest at that point, and Ethereum was like $25 or something. And so, yeah, my story really is, and I'll keep it really succinct here, is that day was a real paradigm shift for me because, I was working as a removalist. I drove to work that morning. And by the time I got to work, my account had increased by $300. And I was like, I've just made more money this morning driving to work than I'm going to make moving people's houses. And so that really set me on my course. I went through the whirlwind that was the 2017, 2018 bull run, and then the bear market that ensued after that. And made a lot of bad decisions too. Invested in ICOs that went nowhere. Gave private keys to people I shouldn't have given them to. Rug pulls of all sorts. And so I've learned the hard way. I've arrived at a place now where I discovered DeFi at the beginning of this year, and I've been using it very extensively, and have ultimately created all the passive income type goals that I've set for myself a few years ago. So it's really awesome to be in this space. So DeFi is where I'm at. I'm in the NFT space a lot too, but there are other people here that are going to share a lot more wisdom on that for you. Me next week, it'll be primarily DeFi protocols and possibilities, and I'll share why DeFi, how DeFi, and what DeFi. So there's my summary for you. Hopefully that makes a bit of sense.
Amazing. Thank you, Hayden. And yeah, I can be a translator for some of these things. And please also in your AMAs, no question is a silly question. And I just want to do some translation for a few things that were said there. So ICO is initial coin offering. That's when these projects are first launched, and then people can sort of get in there early. And usually the stock will go up, and unfortunately people sometimes then flip and then it can become what the second word I wanted to define, which was rug pull, which is where there's a lot of hype in the beginning, all the money goes in, and then people run away with the profits and nothing happens with the project. And then the last thing was just to define DeFi, which is decentralized finance. So yeah, just making sure it makes sense to everyone. And also please ask those kind of questions. If there's any other nomenclature or lexicon of this space that goes over your head. Over to you, Kevin.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin Mendoza. I am a crypto geek through and through. Similar to Marcus and Hayden's journeys, mine also started in 2013. I was tinkering around with Bitcoin, being a nerd, basically a novelty. That it was. I also got into plus 500 and made a couple of entries into that roller coaster of Bitcoin. Thankfully, got off the roller coaster without throwing my guts up. Basically, my main where do I start? My main journey was started off as a musician, playing drums. And as a graphic designer, I sort of balanced those two things in my life. And then I ended up through crypto, starting a Facebook group called the Crypto Collective, where I was helping other musicians, other dancers, creatives, artists, anyone in my peer group to learn about crypto as well. And that led me to actually meet Atlas through that and through the people in the music community. And through that, I was able to advise on a few crypto projects early on, like some of those ICOs, get in on some ICOs myself. And then I ended up doing my own project, which was called Artesia, and which was about creating crypto-powered eco-resorts around the world. And I launched the first one here in Thailand, where I live. So like I live in this weird bamboo dome thing in Thailand at the moment, where I've been stuck in lockdown up until last week. Actually, lockdown started opening up again, but I've been Tom Hanksing it, in Thailand. and just living off crypto basically. And from that, I've aside from the resort and doing like permaculture stuff and trying to create a community here on crypto, I also ended up consulting on a few projects. And so a couple of the things on my plate at the moment are I'm a product manager at SyncDAO, which is a DAO that promotes perpetual vaults. So like getting people into our first product is like a stablecoin vault. For anyone, Atlas, I'll leave the stablecoin vault explanation to you, what a stablecoin is, but basically creating savings accounts for people in crypto that are perpetually generating cash flow is one of the main projects that I'm on. And we're promoting being regens, so regenerative behavior rather than degens or degenerative behavior in crypto. The other thing that I am is with a New Money Institute. I'm a New Money mentor. So again, helping people get into DeFi, so decentralized finance, putting up different courses and things like that, helping people understand, the journey into crypto and how to invest in stable and volatile assets and that sort of thing. And then I also work with Monograph, which is founded by Kevin McCoy and Carlos Mendez and Jen McCoy. And if you look them up on Google, they were the pioneers. Some would say they were the inventors of the NFT. They put the first digital images on the blockchain through Monograph. And so I'm working with them in particular from my music side on a product called Stems. And it's a platform where people can remix these NFTs and create their own NFTs or their own music from stems of other people's music. And at the moment, the main project we're working on is with a producer named Timbaland. Some of you 90s kids may be familiar with his music. It's pretty iconic in the like R&B and hip hop scenes. And he's got a project that we launched this week, where you can get pieces of his songs and then remix them together on this platform, then create your own song. And then the last project that I'm part of as well is called MMXX, which is 2020 in Roman numerals, and I'm a blockchain analyst for that, basically handling a crypto fund. So what I will be talking about on the Crypto Safari event is, I think, the market cycles and trading, reading charts, like basic sort of stuff that I think anyone in the crypto space should know, about reading charts, because then even though it's like kind of like the boring stuff, it will help you whether you're into NFTs or into DeFi or whatever it is in the crypto space. You can learn how to ride the emotional roller coaster and be okay with the highs and the lows, and eventually come out of your journey like hopefully with more crypto in your pocket than holes. So that's about me in a nutshell. So over to the next person.
An impressive nutshell. Thank you, Kevin, for being here. I'm going to go next, and then I'm going to pass on to Sina to wrap us up with talk about the Earthbeat community, which is awesome to be partnering with on this webinar. So just a couple of translations. I know that Hayden also put it in the comments, so thanks for that. And that is DAO, is a decentralized autonomous organization. Highly recommend just Google it, and there's lots of information about that. But that's a key way that we're going to have organizations in a decentralized world, very participatory, community-driven, taking away all of the corruption and the old system. We've got the hierarchies and all those secret handshakes behind closed doors, which is a big part of what the open ledger is all about. And the trustless system of crypto, which is not a bad thing. It might sound like it's bad, but it's trustless because everyone can see everything. So you don't actually have to trust the person you're interacting with. So yeah, look at DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. And I was in one of the SyncDAO AMAs recently, and they're really supporting people work out how to create DAOs of your own. And of course, the best thing to do is just get involved with one and see how it's done from the inside. So exciting about that. And then as far as stable coins, well, it's quite ironic that it's called stable coin when it's pegged to something like the US dollar, but it's essentially the idea of a stable coin is it's somewhere you can store your cash if you're sort of trading that's not going to be as volatile as altcoins or Bitcoin. And it's usually pegged to something, for example, Tether is a famous one, and that's pegged to the US dollar. But of course, through the webinar, you're probably dissuaded from thinking of it as a stable coin because, of course, there's hyperinflation and those things are not necessarily going to be stable. But that's the concept of something. It's something pegged to something external to the crypto space so that it is less volatile. So as far as what I'm going to be doing, I'm coming from a background in, well, events, really, creative industry, running various events around Australia, and game design. I work on a game called Civilization Explorer and an app called Commodora in the food justice space as an experience designer. And as an artist, probably most importantly in the NFT space, artist and also community builder, because I think on Sunday, which is when I'll be going on the deep dive into NFTs, we'll be looking at the functions of these things, these validation certificates on the blockchain, and then what they can sort of lead to. And it's really, for me, it's a lot about the community, and there's some DeFi aspects attached to it as well. And as artists, how we can convert in an intelligent, evolved way. I think that I really want to, in my presentation on Sunday, help you feel into your own medium, make sure it's not too intimidating. You don't have to be a coder. It doesn't have to be a lot of tech involved. You can just take what you already do and translate it across to the blockchain. But I hope that we can evolve the way that we create our art to the medium itself of NFTs, which has certain qualities and characteristics, which I'll talk more about. But Stems, which is one of the monograph products that Kevin was talking about, is a great example of how music can be adapted to really make use of NFTs in the metaverse. So yeah, that's my kind of bag and how I'll be guiding next weekend. And then over to Sinner, please let us know about Earthbeat and what we're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Atlas. And yeah, feel really honored to be here. I just can sense there's so much juicy knowledge in this group here. And yeah, pleased to step into this corridor. Actually standing in for my brother, brother Sadra, who will be with you guys next week, but he had to deal with an emergency over the last couple of days. So yeah, I thought I'd represent Earthbeat and present our kaupapa, which is has been to create a platform for transformation, celebration, through strengthening our relationship and connection with the earth, and also to inspire and empower new ways of living in the world. And that was born out of seeing how the current ways of living in the world haven't necessarily been serving a lot of people, looking at the state of our planet right now. So Earthbeat was founded as a way to expose people to new ideas, new innovation, new technologies, and embrace that and support our community and embracing that, and looking at alternative healthcare, alternative energy, alternative currencies. And so yeah, it just feels like there's a real strong alignment with crypto Safari, and we are really pleased to be backing this and supporting this work. Yeah, and also we're interested as a festival, music festival, transformational festival in Aotearoa, New Zealand. As a lot of you probably know, it's quite a difficult landscape to be holding large-scale events. There's a lot of uncertainty, and we're really facing that uncertainty head on, and navigating that has been quite challenging for us. And we're always looking at building our own resilience as a community as well, and noticing that if we're so reliant on external circumstances like what's happening with the current pandemic and the movements, geopolitical movements, it's not always easy to predict what's going to happen. So if we have some resilience and resource that can support our community at this time, that would be something to really look into. And to be honest, I'm learning a lot around this. So I just started investing in crypto last month, so I'm really new. So I'm looking forward to hearing the knowledge shared here today, and I think I have a lot to learn from everyone here. So thanks a lot for being here and making this happen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the kaupapa of Earthbeat. And yeah, it's just the perfect place, you know, with a product, you could say, such as a festival, which is of course highly affected by the current lockdowns. I'm so excited to be able to bring it across. It's the perfect product and service to work out, well, how can we still do this? How can we have the heart and the soul of the product, which is the community, the sharing of art, you know, all of that sort of thing still exist and not allow it to be cut down. Yes, so I'm welcoming any questions now. It's totally fine if you want to use the chats. I've opened that now, so I can definitely be your mouthpiece for any questions, but also welcoming you to activate your camera, jump up on stage here with us and ask us directly. So opening to questions from the crowds. What you got? What you got? Hit us. Hit us with a tricky one. And this is also, it doesn't have to be necessarily something for everyone else. It can be a really personal question, like with your product or a question you've got. Thanks, brother. Here we got Neri. Hey, brother. Welcome to the stage.
Hello, thank you. Yeah, I guess I'm in the music side of things, and I guess I'm trying to venture into the NFT space. And I sort of did venture, but I've sort of blindly ventured, and I've done some, you know, it's not all perfect. So what I did is I recently released an album on the normal Spotify and all those things, but then I released a director's cut only as an NFT. And I wanted to make it exclusive so only the specific listeners that owned it could have it. So I went through the rabbit hole and set it up on Rarible. But then I wanted to give this to my fans. So Rarible was going to charge me like $50 per NFT that I sent. And then I was like, okay, this is really bad. So then I redid it on OpenSea with Polygon, which was free. So now I've got 2 sets of albums in 2 different places, but obviously I didn't want to burn the ones that I spent so much money in setting up, because it's like $230 just to mint them and then to send them. So I was like, maybe I'll sell these, but then I heard that copy minting is also not the best thing to do. So now I'm kind of got this dilemma with these NFTs, and yeah, it's a funny game. And recently I discovered this place called Calumet, which I think they're really doing the NFTs correctly, where you can actually put the NFT in your wallet and off the server, because it's not on any server, it's actually on the blockchain. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Calumet, but they seem to be doing NFTs, right? But they don't have the unlockable content, which is what I wanted for this specific album. But yeah, that's, I guess, where I'm at, and any knowledge in those areas on moving forward, yeah, it would be greatly appreciated.
Amazing. Well, I might throw to you, Kevin, just from the music side of things, and then I can give some other ideas about NFTs.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there, but first of all, it's awesome that you've done that and you dove into the rabbit hole, and it's great that you've got 2 different sets of NFTs to send out. One thing I would say for anyone doing the NFT play or considering their strategy is figuring out who your target market is, right, and what you're trying to do with your NFT, because I've seen this across a whole bunch of projects. There's a disparity between wanting to get the art out to the people and then wanting to make money, right? Because the NFT world is mostly made of collectors initially because of art, right, and storing value. So there's a thing where like people are like, okay, I want to get this out to people, but then if you end up with an NFT that's 5 ETH, right, then who's going to buy it, and what are the chances of that getting out to be heard more? So in selecting which way to go or how to package your NFT, I tend to think of it like a Kickstarter sort of project, where you go, okay, these limited edition things, the collector's items, maybe you add perks to them to bring the value up to what it is, on the Ethereum blockchain, if that's what you did first through Rarible, to make it worthwhile for people to hold that NFT. So you could, add like tangible perks, like shout outs or, additional material, physical items that you send. And then that way you don't detract from the value of creating the ones that you had on the Polygon network, which is significantly cheaper, right? But so it's kind of like having, your platinum and then your gold versions or something. What a lot of people, I guess, don't really understand initially with NFTs is that they're just addresses, right? To store your files. And so long as you're the artist, technically you can still actually upload more things into those folders and provide more value that way. So that's one approach that you could take in terms of like you've essentially forked your own NFT. And for those who don't know, I said forked like as in like going into a fork, not the other fork. And yeah, it's split on different networks. That's the first thing, and then the second thing I would also suggest is that you focus on where your target market is consuming what you want them to consume. So again, like even though it might be cheaper to go out on Polygon, how much of your target market, even across getting Matic and bridging over from each, like there's all these sort of like steps to get to even get to the point of like listening to your music, right? So yeah, consider that and look for the marketplaces where those people can easily access your music. In terms of the fees, like you mentioned, having to pay $50 for Rarible and all that sort of thing. That's par for the course. It's like the cost of doing business, right? Instead of paying the money to the record labels, you're paying it to the marketplace that you're on. That's actually one of the things that we're trying to address with Monograph by giving people the power to create their own marketplace directly from their website. So like for the Timberland project, if you go to timberland.com, the NFTs that are minting directly from his site and being auctioned go directly to Timberland, right? They don't go via another record label and have people sort of taking chunks of the pie. And so yeah, we're working on that tech. We haven't released like a proper we haven't released a retail version yet, but eventually the idea is that it's going to be as easy as like a WordPress plugin or a Wix plugin that anyone can basically mint their own marketplace with NFTs. But for now, yeah, Polygon is good for the network speed. You might look at some other projects that are launching on AVAX, Solana as well, potentially. Dot will be having a lot of different things. And what was the other one? There's another network I'm forgetting, Atlas. But anyway, over to you, and yeah, hopefully that helps.
Yeah. I guess the target market at the moment was just to my fans that have no idea about NFTs. So I've pretty much spent these last 2 weeks helping them get MetaMask. I did a little video to try to explain them. So all my fans now, I've got about 35 across. So this has been like, and people that don't have, like, I mean, maybe 2% or 5% max had already addresses ready to go, but the rest of them were all just like going into the deep end. So it's good. I'm just trying to bring, I guess, more awareness to the outside world of this world and the possibilities and all the things that we can actually do, because there's so much magic and possibilities in this realm. So I guess I'm jumping in, and I think that was good advice. I'm going to definitely have a look at some of those other platforms, and I guess I'm just going to keep learning. And I want to check out that one that you said about that you could remix the different parts of the songs. That sounds amazing and a lot of fun for artists to jump in and do creations with other artists. It's like an awesome collaboration, and it's cool that Timberland's doing something like that too. I think it's really awesome.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, I'm happy to address your question as well briefly. But just thank you for bringing people on. Like, I think at the moment there's two roles. There is, running our businesses, our brands, whatever it is. But as we bring more and more people on, we're literally, rising tide lifts all boats. The more people in here, the greater flow and the greater awareness that happens outside. We all benefit. So just thank you for doing that role with your 35 people. That's huge, big strides. The take I would have on it, similar to what Kevin was saying, was looking at the different layer twos. Immutable X is the one that comes to mind. So basically Ethereum blockchain is unsurpassed as far as NFTs go. There's plenty of problems with it, but some of those are being addressed by Ethereum 2, which is coming out next year. And also on that huge demographic that's there, it's also being put out to things like TikTok at the moment, which is also through Immutable X. You've got games, you've got NFTs, you've got one of the most influential NFT and gaming influencers on YouTube called Elio Trades. He's got Super Farm, which is also pairing up with Immutable X as well. So that would be my go-to. And basically what that means is it's still using Ethereum. So you don't have to go into another blockchain, but it's a layer 2. So layer 1 is like the operating system. Layer 2 are the apps built on that operating system. So Immutable X is a layer 2. And yet it's gasless. So no gas fees. Can you imagine that? I mean, there is an initial gas fee when you first sign up to initiate the wallet, but after that there's none. So I think that's going to be a huge on-ramp for a lot of people. And, you know, of course, the huge TikTok community, all of those people are going to pour on, and that's a really good touch point for that. So like Kevin was saying, it's kind of a mixture between making money, having a valid NFT that can be collected and traded versus actually getting your ad out to the people. It's also worth being aware of things like Audius. I'm not sure if you know Audius, but essentially, what is this Web3? You know, it's like Web 2, but it's decentralized. So sometimes it can be intimidating when you think, well, what NFTs, like how do I actually utilize that? Just think of it like still like the internet. So just like there's YouTube, well, then there's going to be, you know, maybe Theta Network or other kind of decentralized version of that. Just like there's Spotify, there's Audius. And so maybe think of your usual branding strategy on normal Web 2.0, and then, you know, reach out to me or do some research and find what's the Web 3 equivalent. And then that's obviously how you'll reach a lot of people, because like Spotify's Audius just goes out and has a high rotation. And then think of NFTs more like your membership club, more like your Patreon account, or this idea with stems, which Kevin's doing with Timberland, where you can actually break your music down into these things. Having listen to your album, The Raven Sonata. Huge shout out to all the artistry that you're putting into that, and the way that it's run, almost like a radio play. I really see that to be an experience. So that's kind of how I'd be thinking of it, is like, how can we extrapolate that into a metaverse experience? I know we've chatted about Sandbox as well. So yeah, like how can you have this item like a director's cut? I really like this version of like the angle you took on a director's cut, make it really special. As Kevin was saying, it is a link to a folder that you can put all kinds of things in, not just an audio file. You could put photos, you could put videos, you could put personal interviews, you could have like a special Q&A like this where people get to come on and ask about it, whatever it is. You know, there's so much to bring to an NFT. So that's how I would shift my thinking about it, is I would use NFTs for that side, and then for getting my music out, I would use a DApp, like a Web3 application like an Audius.
Yeah, I think I want to balance both. That's why I did the streaming and I did the NFT, which is more exclusive. I want to try to balance both, because you obviously have to have your foot in both worlds of what's going on and not make everything so secluded and difficult for people to get. And I also think that maybe, like, even for the ones that cost money, maybe I could tie in like a vinyl or something. If you buy the NFT that actually costs money, you actually get a vinyl with it or something like this. Obviously.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. And also I had someone asking if you can post a link to your album in the comments. So please do that. Yeah, wicked, brother. We might ask if there's any other questions in the group, but yeah, thanks for asking a question. Feel free to chuck more in the chat. Marky P, welcome.
Hey guys, great to be here. Thank you for putting this on. I'm excited. I'm in end of week 2 with my actual actioning journey into crypto. My main struggle right now is feelings of overwhelm, confusion, and FOMO, which I know is all part of the journey, especially being new. I found myself completely surrounded by the crypto world in terms of real world peers and online peers, and it's cool because it's an opportunity to use real life tools around my state and all that. But my question is, and maybe there's something I will explore more, but I haven't found, or probably haven't really searched properly yet, around the actual stages. Like, it's almost like an instruction manual. Okay, go to this stage, then that stage, and then that stage, based on goals and things like that. Like, okay, set up your MetaMask wallet, link it to this. Okay, I've done these things, learn this, learn that. And it's like, I'm finding myself trying to learn and understand almost everything in one go. And it's like, I feel like I almost need like a list of like, okay, learn the lingo, learn the systems, learn the exchanges, and like a step-by-step guide. And then I feel like that will help with, okay, this is my process. and I don't need to feel like go into the overwhelm and confusion of where to go next. And that's where I find myself, but also knowing that it's this state I'm in is influenced by these feelings of confusion, overwhelm, FOMO, which is part of the journey, which is cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for bringing in the mind state. It's such a huge part. I know that the masterclass that Kevin was running, we have Kjartan who brings just exactly that, the mind state and techniques around sort of balancing that. So yeah, I guess we can throw to anyone at all, talking about how you sort of manage the FOMO and just the overwhelm of all. It's like drinking at a fire hydrant. There's like so much information. It's too much for any one human being, even if you lived for several hundred years to get your mind across. So I love this invitation though. And I'll take it on board to map things. I love creating visual diagrams and maps. So I've definitely heard that. And I will aspire to do that by the webinar, to provide some kind of roadmap to the key touch points that I do. And for me, it's a daily cycle. I wake up, I go here, I check the charts, I look at this source, I did it, and so that really does, even if you just limit it to those 4 or 5 sites, you'll definitely get by and large the area that you're interested in. And the second part I would say is working out the niche that you're really passionate in, because crypto ain't crypto. Oils ain't oils. These things are based on technologies which function, whether it be to do with finance, to do with artistry, to do with communications. There'll be a lot of different areas in crypto. So I think that really has helped me focusing on metaverse, NFTs, and gaming, because that's my area of love and passion. So I would also encourage you to do that. And I know that also even that is quite overwhelming, because you see all these tickers on the market and you see all these names, you don't know what it's about. So that's something that I will also try to do with our Crypto Collective Twitch stream. We're going live almost daily. And so I'll be looking at these different sort of areas or industries within the crypto space. And that hopefully will help you sort of pick and choose your area of passion. Yeah, open to anyone else about mindset.
Happy to jump in. Have been there, have felt it last night at about 2 a.m. as I was buying NFTs. FOMO never goes away. The thing that I remind myself of is that the opportunity of a lifetime comes every week, particularly in crypto. You'll convince yourself otherwise and be like, this is the one I have to jump on, particularly when emotions are high. But the reality is, literally almost every week there is something coming along in crypto that, strategically invested in will change your life. So there's always a new opportunity every single week. And the other thing is, overwhelm tends to be just a byproduct of information overload. So it's the answer is obviously simplify. And for me, what I'd say is, everyone knows that success does leave clues. So find a few really key people who are worth listening to, and you might need to get that recommendation from someone else, or you'll know it, you'll hear it and you go, this is someone that is worth listening to, and drill down on them. In the early stages, when it comes to learning the lingo, what I say to people is just find something. So for me, for example, for a few years there, it was Nuggets News. Now, he's had a bit of controversy recently. That aside, the guy's put out immense amounts of value for the crypto community. I would just listen to that every day and just let it wash over me. And that's what I would say to you is, perhaps just find a couple of people that you want to listen to, that you can tolerate, you enjoy the sound of their voice. They're speaking at a level that's perhaps not too complex that you can't understand any of it, but at a level that you get most of it, and the rest will wash over. You hear it enough and it begins to make sense. That's what's worked best for me over the past few years when it comes to learning the lingo. Hope that helps.
I'm going to jump in there as well. Hey, I can completely understand that the space must be very daunting right now. At least when we all started, really, it was just Bitcoin and blockchain that we had to understand. And now people who are jumping in, are being presented with DeFi and NFTs, and there's maybe 20,000 different cryptos out there. Who knows? And I completely agree with Hayden. Yeah, just sort of immerse yourself in it, even if you don't understand it. Sort of repeat, rinse and repeat. There's also useful things that you can do, like read the news section in CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap. That's where you have all the listing of all the coins. And it just sort of gives you an idea, and really don't be too hard on yourself. A lot of it is about learning and understanding the language. As someone said, time in the market is better than timing the market. So just take your time, Obviously, you know, you want to clearly you kind of want to move forward, I'm sure, and you want to have an idea of what it is that you want to do. But even like kind of like, you know, let's just say you're sort of wanting to understand the charts and things like that when you go to your trading platform. I mean, just have a look, press them buttons, you know, see what happens, you know. You're not, I mean, as long as you're not buying and selling, but just get a feel for it. Just have a look. Don't be daunted by all the different things that they have on offer for you. Yeah, just have a look around, and you know, and then from there, just get, you know, just start gathering an idea of what it is that you want to do. You know, I'm sure there'll be people out there that can help you. Yeah, I hope that helps.
Also wanted to add, just if I could, I'm the king of like overwhelming people, as Atlas will know. When I get on a crypto talk, I'm just like, you know, it's like playing drums. I'm just like, I want to hit everything, right? Aside from what Hayden and Marcus suggested, Atlas, is it okay if I drop the playlist? You remember the very first masterclass playlist thing that I put in to YouTube? Yeah, I'll drop that in the chat. Even though it's from, I think, January or February that we did it, I pretty much went through, like, we went through like a whole weekend sort of getting people from start to finish of, you know, Bitcoin over to DeFi. And even though it took a whole weekend, you can sort of watch the bits and pieces that are relevant to you in your journey. The point that I wanted to highlight was somewhere in all that material, I can't remember which session it was, we do go through the structure of mapping things out, right? And I had this template that was part of Crypto Collective on how to map out where things are in the crypto world, and then also obviously map out where your assets are. You know, these are the websites to go to you know, to trade. These are the websites to go to buy NFTs. These are the websites to go to protect your money. This is where to get insurance. Like, there's all these different aspects that if you have your map in front of you, and then combine that with what Atlas mentioned about having like a daily routine, or, you know, bullet points to go, okay, today I'm pointing my compass towards this section of the map. Then you go and explore there. You fall into the rabbit hole that Neri was in for, you know, creating NFTs for his own music. And then from there, you'll you know, find something else that, oh wow, I didn't know that. And then you can map it out and go, okay, I'm going to point my compass to this direction tomorrow because it's too much for me to take today. So I'll drop that link in, and then hopefully that won't be so overwhelming if you take it in, you know, piece by piece.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kevin. Awesome. So yeah, we've got a few links there as well, Marky. If you look in the chat, I've put a bunch of links. Someone else also asked key people to watch. So I've just put a link to a number of the Twitter people that I follow and some of the YouTube channels. And I would just say it just comes down to literacy. My approach to literacy is exposure. And just by being in the space again and again, it all starts to come into focus. So yeah, hope that helps. And thanks for your time here. I'll make space for another question. I've also got a question in the chat, which I'll put to the group as well, which is an understandable question of what happens when you put your 12-word phrase somewhere so secure and safe that you can't even locate it. So any either horror stories or saving graces if you don't know where your seed phrase is.
Do you want us to answer that now?
Yeah.
Who was that? Who put that question in?
Someone direct messaged me, so I won't say their name, but it's
okay. Gotcha. It's scary. Well, at least you know they're safe. That's one way of looking at it. Realistically, well, if you don't find them, you don't have access to the wallet. So ultimately, you want to hope that you find them, but have better practices in place for the future. So, you know, have password managers, have you know, have special patterns. You know, I have certain ways that I store passwords. So I have password managers that I use, and then I've also got things stored, say, on my Evernote, which is on the cloud. And of course, you know, things that are on the cloud are not necessarily safe, but I've encrypted them in ways that they are. Unless you know me, and you know what, you know me intimately, you're not going to know the passwords. So it's just formulating better practices in future, and hopefully there's not that much in that wallet if you don't find it. That would be what I'd say.
Yeah. So a few things for those unfamiliar with seed phrases. Basically, when you have a wallet, there's usually a two-stage security process. One is your password, but that's not necessarily linked to the blockchain. It's more device specific. So it could be whatever fun word you want to put, like a usual email password and such. But there's a different thing called a seed phrase or a secret recovery phrase. They have different names for it. But that is the one that is not device specific. So even if your computer explodes, goes in the water, whatever happens, you can get any device and you can reinstantiate your wallet with your seed phrase. And that verifies that you did actually hold those coins, whatever you had in your wallet, and bling, it's back again. So that's the difference between a password and a seed phrase. The great thing about it is it's trustless. No one can take it from you. It's secure. The bad thing about it is that there's no mummy and daddy to go and run to. And so, yeah, it is very harsh. Crypto is a very harsh world. And if it's gone, it's gone. And people lose millions, billions, there's all sorts of ways that it happens. So it's very unforgiving. But the thing that it does also bring is responsibility, sovereignty, and we don't have this intermediate person always protecting us. There is kind of a middle ground, and that's, I guess, the difference between a centralized and a decentralized exchange. So something like Binance is centralized, which is good and bad. Sometimes you can write to the help people and say, oh, my money's gone, where's it gone? And they've got a team who can give you support to do that, or crypto.com or any of these kind of big exchanges. So they're centralized. However, it's, as I say, not your keys, not your crypto. So if you don't have a seed phrase, which in Binance you don't, it's actually in their wallet, and you're just trusting that they're going to give it to you. And you've got a profile, but it's like Facebook. You've got a profile, but the content is still theirs. So that's the difference between a centralized exchange and a decentralized exchange like Uniswap, where it's all just automatic. And so then that'll be linked to a wallet, which you actually have a seed phrase for. So yeah, do both, but ultimately get responsible.
So can I just add as well that if you've lost your seed phrase but you've still got your password, you can transfer your funds to another wallet, and then that's how you recover your funds. If you've lost both, then you can't recover anything.
Wonderful. Yeah, great point. Thank you so much for that. So basically, if your wallet is open and you've got access to it, you can still usually transfer out. There's a question asking, how long does this Zoom run for? I don't know. We're just going to go and give as much value as possible. There's a number of people with questions, but if you do need to leave, no problem. This will all be recorded and sent out to you afterwards.
I also dropped a link there in the chat for a product called Crypto Steel, which I use. I don't know, Hayden and Marcus and some of the other guys, you might use it as well. It's basically a metal, like a steel plate with like little, what's the word I'm looking for? Words and letters, literally words and letters and numbers that you put into this credit card sized piece of steel to then spell out your 12 words. And then you close it up and lock it up, and it's fireproof and all this sort of thing that basically acts like your safe, because your 12 words are essentially like your PIN code. So yeah, Crypto Steel is a product I use. I know there's a whole bunch of others online as well that you can get. Some are more expensive, some are cheaper, but this thing sort of was one of the originals, and it does the job. It's been fire tested and drop tested and all this sort of scratch proof tested, and it works for storing your 12 words. So
yeah, and I have thought of that as well, because I'm more likely to lose a physical item, a bit of paper, whatever it is, than something digital. But of course, you don't want it to be hackable and online. And as a poet, a spoken word artist, I just remember them, which I know is not for everyone, but I like to have it in the wetware as well, so that I can just sort of access it. So I think I also like Hayden's suggestion of having it online, but you've added an additional layer of encryption. So even if someone did hack your Evernote, they still wouldn't be able to use it. So that's awesome. Awesome. And I saw Vasco come on stage for a moment. Yeah, please come on and ask your question. Welcome.
Hi, I'm not actually Vasco. My name's Emma. My friend Vasco is here too. So I was just wondering, I'm just starting in the space. I've been in it for 6 months. So if it's 3 times the real world, that's 1.5 years, which is quite long. So I've just been taking it slowly, kind of watching the market, and yeah, just slowly starting to get to know it. I'm quite interested in trading. So right now I've just got a little bit of money in there to sort of, play with basically. But I'd be keen to hear from the speakers just some sort of trading 101 sort of directions. So where to go, how to sort of prepare. I don't mind, you know, putting the time in to learn and you know, get my skills up. And I did, my ears did perk up, Kevin, when you mentioned that you're part of a training centre as well. Yeah, so just keen to hear views on that.
Yeah, Kev, be great.
Yeah, so I trade, my trading platform or educational trading platform is with the MBA. So it's my Bitcoin Academy, which is based in Australia. And if you go to my website, so my website is kevinmendoza.com, then you'll find information about that. And for my liking, like I've done at least 5 different trading courses ranging in price from, you know, a couple of $100 to like the most I spent before was on a course for about $15,000. And MBA is a course like Atlas. You've seen the material as well. You're familiar with it. It's the course that flipped things around for me in terms of like treating trading like a profession and not just a hobby. Because if you treat trading like a hobby, you get hobbyist results. And if you treat it like a profession, then you get professional results. And so that really instilled a lot of discipline in me in my trading. And there's that. And then the other course that I do, which is the New Money Institute, that's less about trading and more about learning the DeFi and crypto space as a whole, and how to allocate your portfolio so that you have, we have this product basically on how to create an unstoppable portfolio in DeFi, which basically means that you allocate certain funds to stable coin generating income streams, and then have a small allocation in volatile asset generating income streams. And the way that you structure it is that if you make a mistake with the volatile side of things, if you go all in on something or you get scammed or whatever, the idea with the stable part of your portfolio is that it gives you a bed to land on, and then based on the income that's generated in that through compound interest, you can then refill the volatile tank, right? And essentially it also allows you to forgive yourself for the mistakes that you make, which everyone does. Like I've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, in the space from doing like silly things or things that I thought were right. And then, through no fault of mine, I did all my analysis, I did all my research, but still a rug was pulled or something happened. And likewise, I've obviously made money through things that I didn't even do analysis. And then it was like, oh, there you go, it went to the moon, awesome. But yeah, the New Money Institute is more about the educational side of things and like mentoring people into crypto. And the MBA side is more about just specifically trading. So
cool. And aside from the training program, any tips for now, Trading 101 from any of the speakers?
Have a structure is that would be my main tip. Like what Atlas said earlier, have your steps laid out so that you have your trading plan and your trading strategy, right? At the end of the day, the trading mindset is about, well, it's 80% psychology, 20% execution really on the technicals. Once you have your strategy, then you need to execute on it, like follow your rules. And that's the hardest thing I find with trading, because when you're right there in front of the charts, or you hear an opportunity, what Hayden was talking about 2 a.m. last night, whether it's trading assets or NFTs or whatever it is, you have the temptation, because you're human, to go, oh, maybe I'll just do this, or I'll put a little bit more, or I'll take this out early, or whatever it is. Yeah, something could just crash like that. You don't know, right? Volatile market. So if you have your trading plan and okay, I need to follow this step, that step, and the other, and even if the trade's going the wrong way and you're losing money, but hopefully you have what's called a stop loss to stop you from losing all your account, you need to have the wherewithal to follow through and let that happen, so that if it's a mistake, you can go back and reevaluate your plan to go, oh, okay, why did that go the wrong way? What did I miss in my analysis that made me, make that mistake? It's really not your fault, essentially, right? Like, try and remove the wrongness out of the equation. It's just something in your sequence or in your plan just didn't go to plan at that point, but it might go to plan later. So have a plan and a structure, and then just repeat. I know traders who have like very low, what's the word? Win rates, right? Like, they might get 3 trades wrong, 3 trades right out of every 10. So they get 7 in a row that are wrong. But because of their risk reward and their position sizing and their strategy, they end up coming out on top, right? So you don't always have to be right on your trades. What you do need to make sure is that for every trade that you put in, that you enter, that your position always like mitigates the risk, right? You should always be jumping into a position where you're going to stand to earn at least 1.5 times what you're putting on the table, right? If it's any less than that, if you're risking $10 to make $100, that's great. If you're risking $10 to make $5, that's not great. So keep it, yeah. Anyway,
thank you, brother. Yeah, I've got something.
I just add a little bit to that
totally,
as well,
Marcus.
And hi, Emma. Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too.
What do I want to say? So there's trading, and then there's fiddling as well, and so you got to be careful which one you are. Are you actually really going to, if you're trading, then you're following Kevin's strategy, but otherwise you could be fiddling. And I've got friends who are fiddlers, and whatever, they just kind of like need something to do, so they do a bit of trading, and and they sell too early. I've got a friend who had some Axie Infinity a year and a half ago and sold it 3 months later, so it's a real sort of psychological game. You really got to know yourself and what kind of temperament you have as well. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll jump on as well. And of course, this is not financial advice. Do your own research. Those are all the caveats that we put forward in this space. But at the same time, I also like to give practical things that I use just transparently. And then if it's valuable to you, then by all means use this kind of thing. And this is definitely stuff, Kevin's preachings and teachings is definitely of that guild, definitely bowing to the master there. But one of the things I've taken away is this idea of the buckets. So the idea of having a hodl bucket, trade bucket, and fund bucket, that's really easy. You're attributing a percentage of your money that's on the playing field to something you really believe in long term. That's hodl, and that's, you could call it hold on for dear life, but it's really just a misspell of the word hold. But essentially, it's a long-term investment. The way that I would look at that would be a project I understand both the technical and the fundamentals of. So the difference between those two things is you're looking at sort of the market flow, if things are going up and down, if people are excited about it, if it's very active in the community, but you're also looking at the development team behind it. What's the technology? What's the product and service? And so if you match those two things up, there's buzz and there's also meat to it. Then that's probably a good thing to hodl. That's the way I would look at it. And a very simple thing, if you want to go 101, just look at the top 10. They're in the top 10 for a reason. In Doge is up there as well, a bit of a meme coin. So once again, do your own research. There's also a stable coin in the top 10. So it does take a bit of parsing to work out what it is, but essentially hodl, long term, put the money in there, don't touch it. And it's very tempting, maybe have little things in place for yourself where even if you wanted to touch it, you'd have to go through a few steps to get to it. So that's one thing that's good. As far as the trading goes, that's when you want to work with the volatility. So people that aren't trading yet, you might not be aware of how much it goes up and down, but this ride goes up and down. It's a roller coaster, but there's an inherent benefit in that if and you can, it doesn't matter if it's a bull market, meaning, oh, is that someone talking?
That was me, sorry.
Okay, cool. It doesn't matter if things are going well. as in at the moment it's bull, so most things are going up, or a bear market, which is where things tend to be going down, if you understand the volatility, you can actually be benefiting and being fine in both market conditions, and that's through the trading. The simple kind of concept would be that you buy the red, sell the green. When things are down, you go in. When things are up, and this is a huge thing as well, is take profit. If you're trading, you want to have set certain stops for yourself, where it's like, if it goes up by 10%, I'm going to take this amount up, and you work out your percentages, how much you want to take off, but you don't just hold all the way, because then it can simply drop as well. And all that potential profit, it's only profit if you actually take it off. So as things are going up, you're taking off. As things are going down, you're putting on, and you just sort of ride that roller coaster. And that's with the trading. And so that's really looking at things that are trending. You want to buy the rumor, sell the news, as in when you hear the whispers, you're, for example, on Twitter. And if you don't have a Twitter account, anyone in the room, please get one. It doesn't matter what you think about it. It is by far the biggest platform for crypto, bar none. So you can also search phrases. You might search a particular blockchain. You might search up only, WAGMI, DeFi, whatever you want to do. Just put your ear to the ground. Twitter Spaces, massive place. I'm in there every day. For those of you who don't know what a Twitter Space is, they've taken on the idea of Clubhouse, and they've got these audio hangs. So follow people that are in the space. I've put a few there, links there. Most people with a Bored Ape Yacht Club profile picture or a CryptoPunk picture, I mean, those guys are generally quite instrumental in the scene. And then it'll come at the top of your app. There'll be this little thing with faces in there with the Twitter Space. Go in and listen. And there's so much alpha being dropped there. Alpha being kind of like news or hints and hot gossip and all this kind of stuff is being leaked in the Clubhouse, essentially, which is the Twitter Space. So I'd say listen to those trends, and then therefore you kind of get an idea where things are going. And that's where the trading bucket is. And then as far as the fun bucket, so that's the third one, that's the real reckless one. It's like, it really doesn't matter if it goes up. It could go up by 1,000%. It could crash. You're not going to lose your pants, lose your rent money, lose your food money. And once again, that's about sort of knowing also what the trend is. So for those who are in metaverse coins, for example, after Facebook rebranded as Meta, pretty much every metaverse coin went up. And so it's understanding the psychology. This is not just technical, it's also human and emotional. So when you can kind of gauge where the psychology is, where the mass adoption is, and if you understand the technology behind your coins, that's your fun bucket to just go in and have a gamble. And it is gambling in that stage, but you've got a chance to really sort of make a lot there. So yeah, hopefully that was something useful or practical that you could apply.
That was really awesome, Atlas. Thank you. Can I just ask a quick question about that taking profit concept? I'm also conscious of tax. So if you take profit, is that going to be taxed? How does that work in crypto world?
Yeah. Do you want me to take this one, or? Yeah. Okay. So if you're trading day to day, then that's considered the same thing as any income generating job. Right. So if you're a professional trader, you must record your trades. I'm not a tax accountant, so there's certain things I can and can't advise on. I would suggest you speak to an accountant, or reach out to us and we can put you together with crypto accountants. But yeah, for the basic thing is record your transactions, and you'll be treated as a normal, income generating job. If you're holding your investments in crypto or assets or your trades for longer than 12 months, then specifically in Australia, I don't know where everyone else is calling from, but I know specifically in Australia, the capital gains tax rules there that anything above 12 months, when you convert it back to another asset, that becomes a tax generation event, and you're eligible for a 50% discount on whatever it is you've made. So your taxable income, sorry, not your capital gains tax in that regard. So me personally, I have assets that I hodl or I hold onto for longer than 12 months, and then if I flip them or convert them, then I avail of that 50% discount. And then there are things I do on my trading, which are regular trades, which I consider my income generation from that. And that all just gets processed by my accountant. And then I do other things in the crypto space, which we probably won't dive into in this session, which let me just say that crypto and being online allows you to have several identities. I'm not trying to be dodgy or anything, but there are ways to keep things private. Yeah, in the space, and that's about all I can say.
Oh, thank you very much.
Amazing. Thanks for your questions, Emma. Out to the crowds. Who would like to join us on stage next? Benjamin Gelly.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everybody. This, I guess, is directed at everybody, but Kevin Mendoza mentioned crypto communities, and I'm a critical urban theorist, and I'm researching what the crypto and NFTs and the metaverse do to the city or the urban context. So it'd be very fascinating for Kevin and everybody to speak from a societal perspective or a culture perspective on projections of what what a crypto community could be, or anything to do with NFTs, metaverse, crypto within the culture and society.
Do you want to take this one first, Atlas, or do you want me to?
I've got a bunch to say on that, but yeah, you take it first, and I'm making a note of all the ideas that just came to me.
Yeah, because Atlas is all up in the community side of things. Me, I tend to, because I'm still kind of old school, I tend to think of community as like tangible, real world stuff. So the community that I've cultivated is based on people that I know in the real world within crypto and wanting to bring those people together, right? So I'm involved in the metaverse side of things, the virtual stuff. Like I love all that stuff. I'm a gamer at heart. I create assets myself. I'm a 3D animator as well, and graphic designer, and do all these things. But for me, it comes back down to like, it's all great and well that we have virtual reality and all these virtual communities in the metaverse, but we still need to put food in our bellies and take care of our families and, you know, take care of the planet and all that sort of thing, which is how I ended up here in Thailand. Even though I'm from Australia, or I was born in Philippines, grew up in Australia, ended up in Thailand. I built this space so that other people who are as geeky as me or into crypto or creatives can come here and basically you know, fulfill their heart's passion, or live their life out in a way that balances, you know, wellness and like I have a plant-based restaurant here and that kind of thing, as well as, you know, staying up till 4 a.m. to geek out in the crypto world. So in looking at communities to join or to be a part of, there's a couple of things that you can look at in crypto. First of all, there's DAOs, right? Decentralized autonomous organizations. For those who don't know what that is, they're basically organizations of people that are sick of government, basically centralized, you know, governance. And so in a DAO, every member has the opportunity to vote on certain things and steer the organization for, you know, or steer the herd for the, you know, the best benefit for the group. And DAOs have different goals and different directions that they go. Most of the DAOs that are coming out now in what's called Web 3.0, they have what's called protocol-owned liquidity. And what that means is essentially people are staking their crypto assets in a treasury that the people of that DAO, the members of that DAO, can then vote on, okay, how are we going to spend this money, right? If there are DAOs that they focus purely on buying NFTs that are like worth a couple of $1,000s or something, and then they split the funds between each other. There are DAOs that, you know, similar to like what I'm trying to start here, like they focus on, okay, what food can we grow on the ground, and what are we going to do with our time, and all this sort of thing, like how we're going to live our lives. You know, the SyncDAO project that I'm part of, they're focused fully on how do we create cash flow for people, rather than these, you know, roller coaster sort of moonshots in crypto. How do we create long-term cash flow for the next generation, right? So yeah, DAOs are something I would look into. And then in terms of tangible community stuff that I've seen happen, a couple of years ago, I remember Digibyte, there was a program that they did where they went out to a village in South America that was, you know, very remote, and they supplied people there, the villagers, with iPads and phones and things like that to be able to start trading crypto, and they were getting Digibyte holders to donate crypto to those people so that they could have access to banking, because there's still 1.8 billion people in the world are either unbanked or financially excluded, right? And yeah, they basically started funding the village to have water tanks and schools and things like that through crypto. And then third thing, sorry, I tend to get overwhelming with this stuff. I would also look at with whatever community you're joining, like what's the environmental impact, what's the mental impact, what's the emotional impact to the community themselves that they're creating. So a lot of people might have heard of Bitcoin being and Bitcoin mining being energy intensive and all these sorts of things, even though it's mostly using renewable energy. Look at communities that are doing, say, proof of stake models or proof of space models. When I talk about these proof models, it's just in a nutshell, it's how do these crypto coins get created? How are the assets created, right? And proof of stake is currently one of the leading technologies that basically is less computer intensive, therefore less environmentally intensive, and has a smaller carbon footprint, right? There are other things like proof of space. Like there's a really cool project called Chia, where they're using unused hard drive space for all these transactions that are happening on the internet. So, how many people in the world have computers that they don't use, a large chunk of their hard drive? They're using that as the backing for the technology, basically, which then reduces the amount of new computers and things that need to be created in order to have this network running. So over to you, Atlas. I hope that was helpful.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I've got a few ideas on this. So one of the ideas is the idea of these transition cities. And this is the idea that we're going to start having these places, these physical townships, which start to transition to a crypto economy. So I think that's as far as urbanization goes and real world impact of crypto, that's something that's definitely starting to happen. It could be like a little local council has its own coin. It could be just a lot of the shopkeepers. And I like the social engineering that you mentioned, Kevin, another chat we're having recently about asking when you go to the shop, oh, do you accept crypto? Just like lightly across the counter. And that's just sort of starting to seed the idea, and more shops will start to accept crypto. Obviously, you've got whole countries now adopting it as official currency, but you can also sort of see that in your local area. So yeah, the idea of transition cities is an interesting urbanization take on it. Obviously, the other way that's going to happen is that you're going to have meta fronts, meaning like a shop front for a real world shop. And I could definitely see if you had a digital twin city, you would have basically the same thing, but instead of having to go IRL walking down the street, you could go online to the web front and buy their product, and it could be sent out to you. The third aspect of community is really apparent in certain blue chip communities like Bored Ape Yacht Club, like CryptoPunks, many others coming through. They become all about the membership, not about the art. And they start to assemble people of similar rank, you could say, in the crypto space, and they start to become influencers. And so then the value of the NFT is definitely commensurate to their actual community and what's going on. The interesting thing, I think, or the potential for us, is to basically go and see that for ourselves. Everyone wants a valuable NFT. They want the floor prices to go up. What is that brought about by? It's the value of the community. So if you find a project that's not yet up in the Bored Ape Yacht Club is hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy in, but if you find one that's in the middle range and you become a participant in that community, you can then start to rise. That you might get some other friends. I've got this idea at the moment. I'm helping steer a project called Ethereum Party, and that's what I want to do, is bring people in, and we give value through the membership club of that. So I think that's a huge part of community. It does exist, and you can also talk about the economics of CryptoPunks. How come millions of dollars are going back and forth between 5 people every day? I don't know. You join the dots yourself, but there's lots of different internal communities that are happening. And when it comes to NFTs, the exciting thing about it is they're not securities as far as the regulations go. And also it's not a thing that a whale can come in and buy $1 billion bag of and start to influence it. And this is kind of like a border, I think, that as big institutions and hedge funds start to get involved in cryptocurrencies, and the NFT space is going to be a guarded wall for people who really align with the values of decentralization and the community and the functionality of the metaverse. So that's a really amazing space to take refuge in the NFT space. Definitely another one I've already mentioned is Twitter. Like, get on Twitter, be a part of the community in that way. And that does link to IRL things as well. For example, we've just had NFT NYC, so the New York conference and convention. So linking up with those communities is really pivotal, but that starts online and things like Twitter Spaces. I think the other aspect, I'm not taking a breath, but I just want to fit in as much information as possible. Another aspect I think is important is looking at the difference between like a social token, a governance token, how these particular economies are working inside a DAO or inside a club. You know, if you're starting to create a community membership, is it just giving you access to you as a brand creator, or are you starting to have some kind of governance you're handing over to the holders so they actually get to steer your community with you as well? As Kev said as well, there's the green tech aspect. Look at the technologies. I can put some links in a second, but there's some technologies which relate directly to the Internet of Things. So not just the digital space, but actually IRL, industries, mechanics, all those sort of things. There's one to do with robots. There's one to do with the IoT, Internet of Things. So have a look at the tech that relates directly to your industry, and you can be a forerunner. I know with your academic studies as well, you know, you're really right at the bleeding edge of this idea of urbanization and the metaverse. I'm really excited to see what comes out of your thesis. And then as far as a direct line I can give you right now, and to anyone in the space, I'd offer this as well. I might kind of have the caveat that it's if you're really interested in developing, if you're really interested in technology, there's a very small group called the Collaborative Technology Alliance, which I'm a part of. And they're very open and welcoming, run by a guy who's part of Hilo, which is another social networking app. And they meet every couple of weeks. So if you wanted to get in with a community who are directly doing development, maybe reach out to me personally and I can give you maybe an invite to that particular group as well. Yeah, that was my top of my list. But essentially the way I see things working is that we're starting to leverage the international potential across borders for, and I love this idea of cities being in the metaverse. I think that the metaverse starts to bring a human face. And when we look at the onboarding at the moment to people getting to crypto, there's a few sort of hurdling blocks. One of which is the UI, meaning the user interface. I think that, you know, NFTs are bringing people in because of their sexiness of the art. And of course the money is there, but I think it's the metaverse and the human experience which is going to onboard so many people in the coming sort of 5 to 10 years. It's just going to, you know, quadruple or much more than that in the coming time. So yeah, I think this is going to be a thing that cities and council functions like libraries, which kind of aren't that cool, you know. I think all of these council functions and the economies of real world cities, when leveraged into the metaspace, will start to have a really fun, playable game like structure. And then with the advent of play to earn games, it's just going to be a whole new economy. And there's positives and negatives. I know a lot of people don't like the idea of a cashless society. Hayden. Oh, he's going somewhere. Yeah, a lot of people don't like the idea of a cashless society. A lot of people don't like the Wall-E dystopia of us all plugged into our VR goggles and existing only online. But I think, you know, we have to take self-responsibility, just like we do with our money and our seed phrases. Can we do it with our body and actually go out into nature as well? But I think it's unavoidable that whole cities will be going online. And then the last thing I'll drop, just for the general people here to think with, is this idea of decentralized identity or digital identity. And that's the thing that your political votes, your medical records, your participation in social forums, your crypto wallets, all going to be attached to your single self. And I think that is actually going to start to be leveraged in the real world as well. And you can have horror stories about, you know, the social control. Maybe if you look at whatever it is, the Chinese way of having these social tokens, and you can have a limit on how much you can spend on this, on that. And it can get a bit big brothery. And yet I think with self-responsibility and the core hacker heart of decentralization, we can use digital identity for real sovereignty and real privacy. And it will exist simultaneously in the metaverse and in real world cities as well. That's my piece on that. Marcus, anything to add? Cool. Awesome. Hopefully it was helpful. And yeah, I'll put some links in about some of the coins that relate to real world things as well. Wicked. Just having a quick look at the chat. Anyone else from the audience, if you want to come and join the stage, just hello. 2 people.
Hi.
Hello.
Me?
We'll go with you 103 first. But stay on board. Jins, you can stay here.
Sorry. I'm Leah. Nice to meet you all.
Hey, Leah. Nice to meet you.
Hey, I'm new at all of this stuff. I'm looking at releasing my first single at maybe towards the end of the month. Yeah, it's exciting. But I was thinking of maybe doing something quite simplistic to get started, just, you know, using a photo that's something a bit original to the release photo that I use or something like that. But what I'm gathering from what you guys are saying is it kind of involves a little bit more than that. Like you want to create an experience, you want to, you know, give them access to certain things that other people don't have. Do you have any recommendations for someone, you know, sort of new in the industry, even as a musician, how I might be able to create something here? Like any ideas? Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can kick off with that, but and then open to whoever else. And also, it's great that Jins is here alongside you. He's also a musician, so it probably relates to what he's going to ask as well. So yeah, the real mind frame around this thing is, what are you providing? Are you leveraging your current existing fan base? In which case, it really doesn't matter. You can put something, you can put a photo and people will value it. If you're an art creator, if you're a painter, you've got that kind of traditional art fan base, and so then they might just buy it just because you put it up, which is awesome. The second thing to look at is the community that you want to build around your product. And so don't think of it so much as a thing that you're trading like in an art gallery, but simply like a membership club. And that might not be your thing. You don't, as an artist, you don't have to be a facilitator at all. You can just do your art. But if it was the sort of thing that you wanted to provide, then you're thinking of it like a membership pass. And I'm also happy to chat sort of offline and do a bit of a consult about how I would sort of break your community down or onboard them into crypto space. The third aspect, which I'm really excited about, is looking at innovative ways to use our particular medium. So if you're a musician, I mean, stems, I just love the fact that Kevin's here and doing this, what he's doing with Timberland right now. How can we not at all violate the integrity of your art form? Like, you stick to you, but it's in a different medium now. It's got programmability, it's got scarcity, it's got interoperability with other interfaces, it's got a whole metaverse that it can back onto. You know, you really understand the qualities of an NFT, and you can ask yourself, how can my artwork, music in this case, can it be split, for example, with stems into the layers? And then you're handing those over to other people. You're encouraging participation. If we look at digital products like, of course, YouTube, massive crowdsourced information. You look at things like Minecraft, probably the biggest video game ever. Why? Because people participate. People have investment that become super fans because their content is in your brand. So if you had a similar thing with your music where you're giving people stems and you're encouraging your fans to remix your music, there's also a great success story that Kevin has to do with an artist called Wilson, where he had a similar kind of thing. He put out an AR filter, he put out his video, people used his filter while listening to his video, gave that back to him, and then he created an NFT of their content. You know, there's this like the recursive loop of people eating its own tail and becoming invested and woven into the DNA of the thing. So yeah, really thinking of your art, as Kevin was saying, getting your art out to your people and having an NFT are quite sort of different things, and really just research a bit about the functionality of what NFTs can do, and then think or consult with me and ask, well, how can I use what I do and give those kind of leverage points for people to utilize?
Okay, so you would lose like your copyright and stuff. So if you were to release the single, but you were to release the stems as an NFT, you would have to choose one way or the other, or could you do both?
There are different contracts that you can instill when you make the NFT. So you can still retain copyright if you wanted to, because there's a difference between copyright, royalties, licensing. Like you get into the weeds a little bit, right, of these different legal terms. And depending on what contracts you have that you attach to the NFT, then yeah, you can do so many different things, right? Some projects that I've seen where, you know, they give people like a portion of the mechanical royalties, which would have to be tracked by like APRA or AMCOS or the AMRA in the US or PRS in the UK. These are all like performance royalty collection agencies. So yeah, you can retain the copyright. You can totally give it away. There's so many different ways to do it. To simplify it, I would say look for how, like, I don't know if you guys have ever read the book called The E-Myth. I can't remember the name of the author, but it talks about this concept of having your 1,000 true fans. right? Some of you have heard of this already, where you don't need to reach 100,000 people. If you've got 1,000 people behind you that really believe in what you're doing, and you engage with them and you're connected with them, that can be enough to, you know, spark your career or even sustain it. That's why a lot of artists are even on like Patreon or, you know, these other platforms where they get sponsored, you know, to create, continue creating their music. So use that aspect of an NFT being something special, especially since we've come out of COVID, or some people are still in COVID lockdown. You know, the example that Atlas mentioned with my friend Wilson, he was stuck at home. So he was like, well, how am I going to continue making music? How am I going to make this music video when I'm just here by myself? So by creating an AR filter, for anyone who doesn't know what that is, you can jump on your phone now and scroll right in your camera to find your AR filters. It's, you know, like the silly sort of stuff. You can create a character or your own emoji or whatever. And he just sent that out to people to say, hey, listen to my music. Here's the track. Can you record yourself dancing and singing to the music? And then send it back to me, and I'll piece that together as a video clip. And he ran a competition on Instagram where the winners, you know, 5 winners who recorded their material would get $100 each. So cool, paid $500 for a video clip. And then he then minted that video clip as an NFT. And it ended up selling for I think it was 17 ETH roughly. So at the time, it was about 45,000 US. This was back in May or June this year. He hasn't sold that ETH, so now it's worth about $80,000, right? For you know, a music clip. And that has, like, he retains the copyright for the song, so he can still obviously perform it and earn rights from it. But the video clip itself, whoever bought it has the rights to do what they want with that, you know. If they play it on a TV ad or whatever, like whatever happens with it, he can still chase up and go, well, that's my copyright for the music, but the item itself, depending on how it's sold and licensed, is a totally separate thing. So yeah, think of how you can connect with your audience. You know, what would be special for them. I know other people who have done things, like, again, similar to a Kickstarter kind of campaign, where they have different tiers, different rewards, or different rarities on their NFTs. And maybe if you get, you know, these golden ticket kind of NFT, the you know, platinum album or the platinum single, something with a special cover or a special art, you might go and do, I don't know, a living room performance with them, or cook them a special meal. I don't know, like you can throw in other skills and perks that aren't just to do with the music, right? Depending on who your fan base is. So. Amazing.
I've actually just done a video clip where I've tried to include community in it. So yeah, that's interesting. And I don't know, maybe the video clip could be used as an NFT potentially in the song released.
Yeah, totally. I think that the interesting thing about NFTs is they just simply point to whatever file you want. So just really getting our heads around that it's all it is a hyperlink, usually to a server that is holding your work, whether it be a video, a song, a photo, the writing, the lyrics in a text file, whatever it is. So yeah, you can really go wild with.
Any recommendation on where to get started? Like what actual host or any of that?
Immutable X link that Atlas mentioned. Yeah. I'll drop another link in there as well, just breaking down what Immutable X is. But that's probably the cheapest way at the moment to, you know, mint your NFT. In terms of storing files, so this is a bit technical, but what you want to be able to do is make sure that your files are stored on what's called an IPFS system, right? Interplanetary file system. It's like what we use now, which is HTTPS, but the IPFS system is more secure. Essentially, that's a nutshell version of it, right? So you, like, depending on what software you use or what platform you use to mint your NFT, most of them will already be minting, you know, an object on the IPFS system, or they'll be minting on chain, like on the blockchain itself. But those software pieces that I've seen so far, they cost more money basically to do that, right? And if you're just trialing something, then there's nothing wrong with, you know, using the IPFS system. And then there's another hosting company called Pinata. I'll drop a link for that as well. And Pinata is essentially an IPFS hosting service. You don't need it if you're already going on a platform like, you know, Immutable or Rarible or all these other you know, existing marketplaces. If you mint on OpenSea, that's another one that's a lot of people use OpenSea, but you can get lost in the sea as well because there's thousands upon thousands of NFTs there. And the other thing I'll add is another idea, which it's a little bit of a degen play, so degen being degenerative, but a lot of people I've seen starting to use this whole raffle methodology where they basically go, I'm releasing X amount of NFTs and, you know, a random winner will win X amount of, you know, Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever crypto asset you want to attach to it. So then what happens is similar to the raffles and competitions that we're familiar with in the real world. People start entering and, you know, bidding for your NFT, or they start buying it so that they can be part of the pool. And then at some point you just pick some random winner and give them, you know, the prize pool. The prize pool isn't made of your funds. It's made from the people's like ticketed funds, basically, that you pay to them. So it is degenerative in the sense that it turns into a money play, but you can also use that same mechanic to maybe give additional value. So like similar to what I mentioned with the living room concert or a private sort of session or whatever it is you do, that could be the prize that people win, you know, for entering and paying for your NFT.
Amazing. All right, cool. Thank you, everybody. Amazing.
Pleasure. Over to you, Jens. What was your question?
Yeah, what's going on? Right, so yeah, I feel like a bit of a dickhead asking this question, but like coming from such, like I've heard a couple of people already sort of say that they're like feeling overwhelmed. Like I'm feeling basically marooned. Like coming from such a low foundational knowledge of any tech, like I don't even know how to change my name on this Zoom meeting. Or like if you put me in front of a laptop, like I'll just begin to lose my shit pretty quickly. So kind of like I'm kind of doing the hobbyist style investing on Binance at the moment, and basically just taking like tips from you, Atlas, on like what ones to like invest in, and they've all been going really well, thanks, by the way. I'll just close the door, my dog's going mental. But is there any like third party, like commission based, like I heard Kevin talk about like a savings thing where you could he helps people set up like a savings thing, which I guess would like, you know, cost some sort of money to like help set it up, like a third party commission based thing where like they help you invest and like sort of take control a bit more of the tech side of things. And then even when it like we're like relating to the NFT stuff thing, like I've got my solo album that I'm working on, and then I'm also in this other group that we've got an album. And if the project already had value to it outside of NFTs and outside of all of this, just like, you know, it's banging on Spotify, it's banging here on YouTube, the stuff's going well, like how could I like, is there any way of outsourcing to help make this thing happen and help like create NFTs with it? Just because like I've been listening for like an hour and I've managed to absorb a little bit, but it's just, yeah, it's massively overwhelming. Yeah, like I'm working like full time as a carpenter, and obviously creating music, and then like arranging music videos, and I've got a partner and a dog and whatnot. You know, I don't need to go on about my life and what things, but like I just like trying to picture myself I just can't picture myself having the time to dive into this to really learn it. yeah, just seeing if there's any, I don't know if any of you guys offer, or if you know of any people or companies that offer like a sort of third party type, like really quite a lot of help with this, because I can see, I just keep hearing the chatter about it and how much value it has, and I want to be involved in it, but I'm just yes, finding it quite difficult.
Totally. Yeah. No, makes sense. Makes absolute sense. I can drop a few ideas, and then definitely Kevin, I think you'd be as a wealth of knowledge around being a music professional as well. Keen to hear what you have to say. But first of all, yes. Simple answer, yes, there are intermediate groups. I mean, I think that it can be a good on-ramp for people. I'm always one that encourages people to learn it, to invest themselves, because it's all about the self-responsibility. But I totally understand your situation.
Yeah,
we got to pay bills. You got to do the carpentry thing, and probably also want to spend more time making music than making technology to display your music. So, I mean,
put the music. Yeah,
exactly. So, I mean, the one.
So
I say this name without doing any research on it, but just as an example, there's one called Hyperfund, which I've heard about. I'm not endorsing them. I just know they exist. And so you can check that out. And basically they are exactly what you're asking. It's a group of people. You can get together on Zoom calls. They help as a group sort of invest in things. So yeah, there are such groups as well. You can also have kind of like a robot hold your hand, like say with HODLbot. And that is an algorithmically reshuffling algorithm. You connect it up to your, say, Binance wallet, and it's going to keep moving your money around based on an attribution that you select. It could be across the top 10, top 20 coins. It watches the market and it moves things around. So that's kind of like an automated set and forget kind of method that you might want to do as well. And then the last thing that I'd say would just be I mean, you can wait and it's going to get simpler. 100%. It's going to be easier and easier. And in a year or two, as a creator, you're going to press a button and it's going to, upload your things and put it out to a well-established community. But I guess the people who are in this Zoom are probably wanting to be on the forefront and get involved a bit more technically. So yeah, there'd definitely be ways to leverage your current success, and love to hear what Kevin has to say about that. But just to address the point you mentioned, your music might already be out there. Maybe it's already doing well on platforms, like how to leverage that. I mean, the simple answer for that would just be, you've got a good audience, ask them to come across, give them additional, whatever, backstage pass or some kind of additional aspect to it. Like we were talking about before, invite them to remix certain elements. Yeah, in metaverse concerts as well, I'd love to see Jins Moss on the stage in some kind of like sandbox gig or whatever. I mean, that's going to be an increasing thing. Snoop Dogg, for example, just did a concert in Sandbox. So yeah, these things are definitely happening as well. And it's time to think how we do what we do, stick to your genius, keep doing what you do. And there will be people creating the container for you to do your thing. And then the last thing I'll say, and then hand over to Kevin, is that this exact idea is one that I'm bringing together with a certain NFT project, which will be a bit like a record label, you could say, where I'm going to create a story world, and then I want characters like yourself to be a literal character, actual Jins Moss in the metaverse, and then reduce the technical on-ramp by, I'll tell you, I need this from you, this, and this. Provide me a song, a photo, and I'm going to attribute it to your character. And I think we're going to cross-pollinate through our collective fan bases, so that you'll come into the project and you've got access to like Alpha Mama, you've got access to Jins Moss, Dane Thomas out in the crowd, all these people that are in my, and Kevin Mendoza as well. I mean, you've got amazing connections through, Jessica Malboy and the whole industry there. So that is my personal baby project that I consider would be an amazing way for us all to get in. And it can start with 10 people, it can start with maybe 100 people, who knows? But I think that that's the way to pare it down on the technical side. So I set up the infrastructure. You play one character of maybe 10 or 100, and you put out, maybe you've got 10 NFTs that I attribute to you. And then collectively we get up to our, 5K, 3K, 5K kind of limit. So that, that's just a personal offer to you. I mean, I know your art, I know your music, and I fully back it. But also just for the benefit of the AMA, letting you know those are the kind of projects that me, as one of thousands of NFT generators, are thinking of how to bring communities together. Cool. So over to you, Kevin.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things I was hearing through that. One is basically the mindset shift that needs to happen. Not that there's anything wrong with your mindset, but just needs to be changed over, because the overwhelm comes from a point of like, or as you said, or some said earlier before, being marooned, right? Like it comes from a point of like being stuck and going, oh, where the hell do I go? What do I do? And as Atlas said before, follow your genius. Like, do what makes you happy. Do what you love, right? And focus on that. And you can apply that in the crypto space to go, okay, all this tech stuff is like really confusing. Oh, but there's this aspect here, this tiny little thing that I find really, really cool. I'm going to learn more about that, right? And it's in that curiosity and that switch from, you mentioned before, like, something about feeling stupid about this question. Get rid of that. Some other people on this call might be better at the whole mindset thing. When I say get rid of it, like, that's why we have coaches in my course to do the mindset stuff, because they know how to handle that side of things. Whereas for me, it's easy to just go, no, get that thought out of my mind. I'm curious, I'm learning. There's nothing wrong with that. And then you start following those threads, or you start pulling on it, and that curiosity will create, this pathway out of the murkiness of feeling stuck and being marooned on an island. And I can say that because I literally am marooned on an island. Like I can run around this island in an hour and a half where I live, and I've been here since November 2019. So I know all about, the COVID woes and living in one little space. Anyway, so yeah, follow your passion, do what you love, and then like Atlas mentioned, people will naturally gather around you. They will coalesce around you because you're passionate about what you do. People will see your art, people will see your music and believe in it, and then want to, obviously support that. I did drop a couple of links in the chat. So for those people who already have a well-formed idea about their NFT plays, and they're looking for developers and people to build out, their strategy. There's a website there called mynf.team, so my NFT team, basically, and you can start to connect with people, to build out your NFT project. Obviously, you can also get consultation with Atlas and myself and other people in the community later on that I'm sure will come into the the crypto Safari, crypto collective sort of space. The other resource there is through blockplay.art. So that website that I dropped there, that's the company that basically Wilson from the NFT project that I did before, he formed that out of, solving his own problems with NFTs, releasing his Instagram thing. Then he started getting inquiries, because what happened was, aside from the financial gain of, the $80,000 worth of Ethereum or whatever, because it was a musical first, a technological first in Australia that he did, he ended up being put in Billboard magazine and The Source and all these sorts of things, and literally was on a billboard in Times Square for a couple of days. They put it up there as like technology. It was great actually. And so from that, he then created, or he wanted to start a company called Blockplay, which I designed and created, and the website's up there. And he and his team, because they do playlist PR for musicians in Australia. That was his core business before. And yeah, you could probably talk to them about your project and what you want to do. And chances are, if it sort of not meets the cut, but if there's some substance to it and there's a strategy and a plan, I'll probably end up working on it as well, right? Indirectly through Blockplay. And then the other thing, I forgot what something else I was going to say, but yeah, the idea is flown. But to just take it easy, like the stuff that we're saying now, it's overwhelming, because also, I mean, I've been doing this since 2013, but I'm also like a super geek. Like I built my first PC when I was 8 years old, and I've always just loved tech and like getting into the weeds, getting stuck into things. Not everyone has to do that. Not everyone has to learn all these things. Atlas has a really cool approach to all this creativity, which I've loved for years. Like I absolutely love him as a brother. Like, since we met years ago, there's always this enthusiasm and an approach of playing with the tech, playing with things, playing with people, collaborating. It's never like, oh, this is drudgery and I have to learn this about trading or reading this chart. It's like, if you find yourself in that mental space, like take a break, put your feet in the sand, or, you know, touch the ground or something, because these sorts of things, they're very technical. It's heavy, you know, like we're in a stage now where technology is like rapidly increasing. You know, if you watch the movie called Ready Player One, which I dropped in there, or even recently Free Guy, right? The whole virtual world kind of thing, like 10-year-old kids or 8-year-old kids are already in that. You know, there are someone mentioned before about Axie Infinity. Axie Infinity is a play to earn game. You earn crypto from playing these things that are like little Tamagotchis or Pokemon, basically, and fighting them against each other. That is now legitimately a way for people in developing countries, especially the Philippines, that I know of, where people are getting paid in the Axie token or the SLP token that they have, and choosing that over cash, right? Because to them, it's like, hey, why work a normal job when I can just play games all day? Like, obviously that has its, you know, adverse effects as well. Like, we still need to live in the real world, but yeah, that side of things, like kids are like being brought up in that world. Like if you know, give an iPad to a 2-year-old or a phone to a 2-year-old these days, like they know exactly what to do. And you know, we weren't taught that when we were growing up. So like, give yourself some space to sort of, you know, or allowance, some permission to learn and be curious and approach it that way, rather than like kind of like beating yourself down for not knowing, you know, certain things. I'm saying that as well because I used to be a chippy as well, and I used to try and fit in all these things, you know, between drumming and tech and carpentry and all that sort of thing. It's like, if you find something that you're really curious about and you really love that aspect of it, then pull on that thread and everything else will unravel towards that. That's not a very good analogy, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Anyway,
amazing. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Kevin. Yeah. Thanks both of you guys. Yeah, and I really appreciate that. And yeah, you know, I'm still 100% going to keep my eyes and ears wide open and try and learn this. Try and learn as much as I can. I think that's a good point, to try and find one aspect of it that does spark curiosity and interest naturally, and then you just, you know, if you find something you love doing, then you do it, and it's less you know, less like work or whatever. So yeah, I appreciate that, and yeah, thanks.
No worries. I'm sorry, the message that sorry, the idea I had that flew away and came back just now, it goes back to the 1,000 true fans, right? If you've already got a fan base, ask within your fan base who's up on tech, who knows about NFTs, who knows about computers and technology. You might have a fan that absolutely loves your work and is willing to do research tasks or get involved on the tech side. Then whether you employ them or give them a couple of perks, or, you know, get them involved some sort of way to, you know, in your ecosystem, you could end up using your, you know, your street team to be your tech team and start building these for you. So it's, again, flipping that mind well to, you know, to the entrepreneurial side, and using the resources at hand.
Yeah. Fully agree, man. Fully agree. And yeah, I fully rate that 1,000 fans type way of thinking. There's a lot of artists that are doing that. They're taking not dropping their music on Spotify, not dropping, you know, and dropping just on, you know, through a purchase link. You know, 1,000 people buy a $10 album, that's 10 grand, or you get bollocks all off of Spotify for your, you know, your streams or whatever. But, and you know, there's ways to play both sides of the fence as well. You know, you can drop a mixtape on your website and your album on the Spotify to draw people to the website and stuff. So yeah, no, I appreciate that too, man.
Easy, brother. And just to read out some of the comments here, there was from Dane saying 1,000 fans by Kevin Kelly and E-Myth by Michael Gerber. So yeah, love reading up on these things. And speaking of audiobooks as well, we'll probably be wrapping up pretty soon. We've been here for about 2 hours. It went fast. And thanks for being here. Kevin was on another AMA with Timberland about 4 a.m. this morning. So thank you so much for being here. Really value your presence and your wisdom. So yeah, maybe if there's like one question in the group that's been like burning and you have to ask, you ask now. But bear in mind, we are going to be in a webinar next weekend together as well. And there will be a chance to ask those questions there as well. And as always, you can reach out to me and I can do what I can in DMs. But yeah, just as far as learning, hey, Isaiah, 1 second. Welcome to the stage. One of the things that I did when I first got into the scene was listen to 3 particular books. One of them, I should have them off the top of my head, but I think it's like Infinite Machine or something like that by Camilla Russo. That's all about Ethereum being built. I also listened to Bitcoin Billionaires about the Winklevoss twins. And I also listened to, I think it's Kings of Crypto about the starting of Coinbase. So understanding those, listening through those stories, I really got a good foundation about the people, the culture, the technology, which is basically Ethereum, Coinbase, and now, I mean, the Winklevoss twins now run Gemini and Nifty Gateway. But I think understanding that kind of base level of the layer ones and then the marketplaces really helped me get my head around it. So I think if it's really overwhelming, if you listen to those 3 books, or even just the one on Ethereum, as I said, it's by Camilla Russo, Infinity Computer, I think it's called, something like that. That might help, or the Infinite Machine, I think it's called. That might help get you a grounding as the base, the meta layer for everything else that's built on top of it. And yes, Isaiah, final question.
Hey, yeah, thanks everyone for all the info. My question is just around the future of community. So I kind of related to and cryptocurrency, just relating to Kevin, what you're doing. Yeah, I'm curious how we value kind of taking care of the physical space, like in communities such as like permaculture and taking care of, you know, yeah, just in terms of a space, like a community physically, and crypto. So I wondered if there's any like initiatives already going around supporting, like, I guess, I don't know, maybe it's a DAO in a community where people, yeah, kind of, we're kind of investing together to grow the community, as well as maybe having your own sovereign kind of account and doing that. But also this idea of collectively growing money, and then perhaps that could support people around the community. It just feels like, yeah, is anyone doing that? Because, yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I just dropped in the chat there one thing that you might want to check out called KlimaDAO or KlimaDAO. Something. And they're basically, they've created a DAO that's focused on carbon offset tax, carbon offset emissions and tax and all that sort of thing. Too much for me to explain in one nutshell, but if you have a look at their website, that's an example. There's another one that I can't remember the name of where they're focusing on ocean plastics cleanup. You know, you just, like, whenever you have a question about this stuff, and this goes for everyone on the call, you have the most amazing tool called Google, or for some people, like I use Ecosia. So that's another one that you could look at, which is a search engine. And for every search that happens, they plant a tree, right? So yeah, ecosia.org, I'll just grab this link here. I use that as well as a search engine tool, but yeah, you have the internet at your fingertips basically, and you can use them to find these things. So if you're looking for, you know, a community that's focused on crypto and permaculture, just literally type that in, crypto community permaculture.
Yeah.
So there's that. Obviously, like, you have to do the research on what these you know, communities actually are doing and what the members are into. I know specifically from where I am in Thailand, there's my place. So this is a Jayan resort, and we have, you know, some permaculture aspects here. We're not fully like off the grid yet, but we're working towards it. I only started this in 2019, November. And we had to close down in March because of COVID, right? So we're kind of in our second wind now, trying to get it up and running. But I created a coin in 2017 that was supposed to be used within the ecosystem, and, you know, built the rooms and all that sort of thing. But there's also another place in Koh Phangan, which is another island 5 hours away from where I am. and they have there's another guy named Kyle Chassis there who he's big in the crypto space as well because he runs Paid Network and Master Ventures. So these are like, it's like a VC fund that invests in different crypto projects, and they have a project they called House of DAO, and basically it's like a couple of like villas in like an apartment block but overlooking the beach, and it's just filled with developers and creatives and things like that, that are focused on building these, you know, crypto based projects. They're not so much into the whole permaculture thing or like, you know, taking care of the planet, that kind of thing. It's more just like the technology that will make money and, you know, make everyone rich or whatever. But, you know, these sorts of communities are forming. Yeah, so they're around it. Might know some in Australia as well.
Yeah, I think yeah, just two little things to top off. I would separate it out into how to do it through crypto, through DAOs, and then what the outcome, the environmental outcome you want is. And it would be great if you could do both together. But regardless, you know, just joining a DAO, like I mentioned, there's Sync DAO, which Kevin is a part of, and getting involved in a community in the Discord. So for those of you who are not familiar with different platforms, Discord is a place that the community tends to run with these tech and NFT projects. And you'll get a chance to see how people integrate a collective community vision with finances, with delegated governance and all that kind of thing. So even if it doesn't relate to the exact environmental cause you're wanting, you'll get a chance to understand how a DAO works, and then you might be able to either join one in the space or start your own and that kind of thing. And then the last thing I'll say is, I'm just going to put it in the chat here. There is a project, an eco crypto project called Seeds. So it's just joinseeds.earth. So you can definitely check them out, and that they're all about regenerating communities, economies, and the environment.
Amazing. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. So thank you. Oh, was that?
I'm part of Seeds, yeah.
That's all right. I picked up the ball you dropped. So thank you so much for being here. This has been our AMA. Thanks for those who have stayed. We've ended up packing in 2 hours of content. It was going to be an hour, but the questions kept coming. So yeah, really, really proud to add this to the stack of value for this Crypto Safari webinar. Please check Kevin's website out. Like I said, the Crypto Collective was something he started. Now I'm joining the ranks of. We're reaching out now into Twitch as well. So please check out, if you're not already on twitch.tv, check us out at /Crypto Collective. I'm going live pretty much every single day, bringing in all sorts of wealth from all sorts of people. As you can see, this is just a small smattering of some amazing gifted people, geeks like myself, but I'm going to keep pumping it out. And then the way you can support is by coming to webinars, which you're doing like this. So thank you so much for supporting this effort. If Sinna is still here, and if you wanted to jump on, brother, and just wrap up anything to do with Earthbeat, really love partnering with Earthbeat Festival and all your community and environmental objectives. So you're welcome back on the stage if you had anything to close with. And then otherwise we'll be wrapping up in a moment.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Atlas. Yeah, and yeah, really interesting discussion. I got a lot out of that. So yeah, thanks to all the presenters, the panelists that just so generously outpoured all of this knowledge. So it's been really useful and valuable. And yeah, Earthbeat Festival, I mean, we're looking at exploring into this space. Yeah, just wanted to leave like an open door invitation to anyone in New Zealand or anyone who wants to learn more to check out our kaupapa at earthbeatfestival.com. And if you have any ideas about how we can work as community to enter this space, then yeah, do feel free to reach out, drop us an email, and we're always looking to collaborate and work with our community and the resource available there. So yeah, thanks again, everyone. And yeah, Atlas, I'll leave it to you to finish off.
Easy. Thank you, brother. And I'm going to paste it in the chat here, earthbeatfestival.com. Check that out. I've also put the link in for our Crypto Collective Twitch. And for those of you who join both our Crypto Collective Twitch and you join the Crypto Collective Discord, we're going to be actually doing a giveaway tomorrow of an NFT. So that could be a good way to get started, you know, just checking out the NFTs, getting in the game. We are all going to make it. We are all going to make it. We're going to do it. And why? Not necessarily all going to become millionaires, but we're going to be part of a sustainable community in which there's just so much resource. There's a planet of abundance. There's enough money. There's enough to cover our basic level 1 of where you're living, eating food, and having community. And crypto is taking out the greedy middleman, that big bellied, probably just like if it was an archetype, it would be some sweaty white old banker. So we're taking him off. It's his time and the sun is gone. Time to leave, old dude. We are now going to WAGMI. We're all going to make it with crypto. So that's what we are all about. Thank you for being here. See us on Discord. See us on Twitch every single day. And I'll also see you next week for the webinar on the 13th. Big love and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Alice.
Big love. Bye.